traders, Raghee here, and this is a little bit more than just simply our free video from TradeForexFutures.com, but I want to talk about what's happening with the sell-off because I think a lot has been made of Tepper's comments. In fact, I kicked off this morning's chat with exactly that discussion, how that Tepper comment to not be too freaking long, that was his comment, how that actually lends itself to what I think the smart money is doing right now, which is while the dumb money, which bought at all-time highs in the Dow, is now looking for opportunities to get out. So let's see, what does the average money do? They buy high, they sell low. I mean, let's be frank. Anyone who got pulled into the new high, and these are just a couple of the names that I'm looking to bargain hunt on right now. What are names that are back to their 200 period simple moving averages right now, preferably not in downtrends, but are at levels where I could expect some exhaustion, and look to start perhaps taking a nibble here at these names that are at interesting prices. So I think that's what the smart money is doing. That doesn't mean that you have to do that right now, but what it does mean is you've got to take this move in the Dow under context. I don't care what they're saying about the Russell, and frankly, I don't care what they're saying about the S&P. The last market to get hit are going to be those big blue chip names, and that's what we're seeing here. So the panic in that regard is real. The Russell selling off, really inconsequential. The S&P selling off, it hits people's radars, but I know some of you are going to find me saying this practically blasphemous. It is sort of inconsequential. What we're seeing is a lot of chomp that is masquerading as what I think is an uptrend. I say masquerading because if I take a look at this Dow, and this is my barometer for equities, this is my barometer for risk. If you take a look at this chart and you use the tools, forget for a moment this is the Dow. Just use the tools that we know to use. The wave, the grab candles. What are we pretty much looking at? Funny enough, and like I said, it's a tough call, but this is at best a shallow 12 to 2, and I'm being rather generous with that assessment. It's more likely a 2 to 4, which means this is more of a distribution market trend, despite how much it's trying to look like an uptrend. So ultimately, the interesting thing here is when we see the move, and people can blame David Tepper all they want, this was the correction or the exhaustion, and I'm going to look at this as exhaustion, but this is the move lower that traders were promising for months. In fact, we've been warning each other, hey, this is coming, but we never really knew when or why or how. All-time highs on low volume within ultimately what is either a very shallow, unconvincing uptrend or more likely a 2 to 4 o'clock distribution market is all traders need to fade. Who buys at all-time highs? Dumb money does. I'm going to tell you that right now. Dumb money sells yen and buys at all-time highs. Smart money knows that that's a place to either take profit or just enjoy the ride. It's the pullbacks like this that I find absolutely mind-boggling that people don't take advantage of. If you liked whatever name you liked, think about it. Whatever name was liked up here, shouldn't I like it even more down here? Has there actually been a fundamental shift in the psychology since this all-time high in equities compared to where we are right now at 16.4? No, absolutely not, unless you're talking about names that just came out with earnings like Walmart, and you're looking at a market that's sunk down to its 200 period simple moving average. And I actually took a taste of Walmart down here. I didn't get a lot, but I actually would like to build another long position in Walmart, basically between 73 and 76. So I took a little taste, almost like an aggro based upon the 200 period simple. Okay? So think about it this way. Why all the doom and gloom now? Because the market's selling off. That's it. The smart money is like Tepper, saying, I'm not going to short this, but buying up here is ludicrous. And that's really what I've been trying to get across. Now, how do we translate that into the Forex universe? Think about the ideas that were working in 2014. Get long what? Get long the Dow, get long the Nikkei, get short, and if I'm long Nikkei and I'm long Dow, what else was the market saying? Get short yen. The market wanted to sell yen. What else? get short gold, right? These were ideas that kind of carried through thus far in 2014. Get short yen, get short gold, and ultimately also sell bonds. Okay, so you had a lot of people selling 30. Now, a lot of that now is no longer really working. Gold's in a range, the yen's in a range because it's having to serve two masters, and the Nikkei, gosh, the Nikkei's actually been very, very heavy, bouncing along this 14,000 level. In fact, that's one of the reasons the yen can't get out of its own way. You've got the Dow trading up near its distribution fade, or its distribution market trend highs and now being faded, and you've got the Nikkei down near its distribution lows and being faded. Okay, like I said, this isn't our normal free forexfutures.com video. I mean, I'm really wanting to share with you guys a lot of what's happening right now. I don't want you getting caught up in what's happening in terms of all the talk, because everybody that thought these brand new highs were awesome, and not everybody did. We've been talking about it in the chat room for some time, that these brand new highs were what we called a rope-a-dope. Low volume, distribution market trend punching up to a brand new high. I am unimpressed. It's not the same psychology. Okay? So where is the opportunity? Now that we know what traders thought was going to work through 2014 and it stopped working, and we see a panic like this with about a 200-point sell-off, now what? Look for names that you have been wanting to get at a better price. Because when this mark was punching up to a new high, that was not the time to think about buying those names. Yet that is unfortunately what most investors do. They don't get the game they're playing at all. Now, the other side of this is bringing us back to the yen. Okay, and I hope you can hear, I'm very emphatic about this because we've been talking about potential exhaustion. I'm not calling this a correction because this is not really a trend in my opinion, but I think there are some traders that will look at this as a shallow trend, so I wouldn't be surprised to see support in this area. I thought support aggressively would kick in around 16.5 to 16.450 if this was considered an uptrend. Since it's not, I'm thinking that we could see a little bit deeper a correction like where we are right now, chop around for a bit. If we went down to 16.305 or 16.250, I would absolutely look for an oversold fade and get long. Just letting everybody know in that regard. I would love to fade in this area if that does happen. And anyone who wants to take a taste in this area right around 16.4, go for it. Treat it as an aggro swing. But outside of that, where does this get interesting in terms of the yen? One of the things that we've been wanting to do is wait for that yen strength move. In fact, I'd like to see a little bit more follow through to the downside on the Dow, because I'm in the opinion that this is a distribution market, so I'd rather build a position long a little lower than where we are right now. Okay, so I really would like to see a little bit of a follow through, and if we close the day heavy, if we end up coming out of the lunchtime doldrums, 2 p.m. Eastern, going into the bond close, going into the market close, 4 p.m. Eastern, heavy meaning down near, say, the bottom third of today's trading range, on the Dow, I think we're going to see a sell-off again in the morning. And if we could see that sell-off, which would be great, we want to start looking for opportunities once the Dow finds some sort of support, some distribution fade support. I'd like to start selling yen. So all this yen strength, whether it be dollar yen, whether it be Aussie yen, whether it be Kiwi yen, whether it be pound yen. Heck, there are even some traders that were looking at a euro yen. Now, that's not my favorite, but that is a longer term euro weakness play, but short term can be a yen selling into yen strength play. But regardless of how you're looking at this, those are some of my favorites that I just mentioned. And members, take a look at the premium video in the members area. I have an entire video dedicated to the yen pairs. We've been wanting this pullback on the Dow. Rather than buying into the junk that you're hearing on TV about all the weakness and so forth, look for the opportunities. You've got names that you've been wanting to invest in. Look to see if they're at levels that you'd like to start taking a taste. By the way, you could get another chance. Like I said, if we close heavy, we'll probably see follow through tomorrow. Again, to the downside. I would love to sell some yen, and I would love to sell some yen within the context of these distribution markets where these pairs are reaching support levels within their chop. Okay, it's an aggressive setup, absolutely, but this exhaustion is just that. It's exhaustion. Even Tepper mentioned it's not a time to get short, but you don't want to be long at these heights. And it's amazing to me how many people find those comments controversial or odd or simply not the most logical thing any guy telling the truth with a podium such as having CNBC and a track record like his could say. Yes, sure, he probably confirms what a lot of people were thinking, but this all-time high was a rope-a-dope. We've talked about it, and here it is. Here's what a rope-a-dope feels like when the market doesn't realize the underlying market trend and the lack of convincing volume that accompanied a meaningless high like this. It really was a meaningless high. May, low volume, distribution market trend. This could not be more a meaningless all-time high. That doesn't mean that I don't think there are buying opportunities, because remember, just like there are exhaustion levels to the upside, aka the ceilings, there are going to be exhaustion levels to the downside, of course, the floors. And that floor in the Dow will give us an opportunity to sell yen after all this strength. And that's the play, and that's what I'd like you to keep your eyes on. Where is the opportunity? Okay? I hope you found this helpful. I really felt compelled to make sure I send this out to everybody because I think it's just that important. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next update.